Hey, I'm Gwen Elliott and welcome to Start Something Big. So let's get real here. Sometimes starting anything can be challenging, and sometimes it's so challenging we don't even start. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. You know that to-do list you have that just keeps getting bigger? Well, after today, it'll be a thing of the past. Yes, I know that's a big promise, but on today's show, we have 3 incredible entrepreneurs who are going to show you how to get in action so you can start crossing things off. From a U of T grad who's traveled the world and was scouted for her own MTV show, to a Bay Street power couple who gave it all up to pursue their passion, to a ghost hunting duo who've created their career by exposing the paranormal. This show is going all over the place, but in the best way possible. So sit back, grab that to-do list, and get ready to start crossing things off by learning from these inspiring people who've started something big. First up, here's Felicia, founder of Lil Fel Rocks the World.
The last couple of years, I've been around the block of the world.
It's been a little over a year since Felicia started rocking the world with her indie travel blog, and today we're catching up with her in the city where it all started.
I started it in January 2010, but this was after 2 years of already traveling and people being like, hey, you should start a blog. Eventually I realized I was doing so much research into what it took for like a young person who's on a budget, but more than just that, like also who was into like partying, fashion, vintage markets, and like just cheap, authentic eating. I was doing so much research, asking friends about how can I find that in the cities I go to. And so I figured like, okay, I'm gonna start this blog. People wanna know about how to do that. And then finally, 2010, January, I sat down and I wrote my first blog posting, which was the narcissism of bloggers and my New Year's resolution. And that was to start a blog.
What is your vision for your blog going forward? What would it be if you could really make it as big as you could envision it to be?
I definitely want to make probably the raddest and coolest travel guide in the world. That's my ultimate mission. So I want to have a writer in every city. I want to create a brand identity for what I'm doing right now, which is like hip, trendy, but affordable living, which I think is essentially what us like 20-somethings are all about. People comment all the time, I get emails. I've like somehow become like people's personal travel assistant or guides for them.
You went from Scarborough to traveling the world. Where'd you get that adventurous spirit from?
I think for as long as I could remember, I wasn't happy sitting still. My mom would be looking for me, she'd be like, "Where's Felicia?" My dolls would be just completely abandoned. And lo and behold, she'd find me outside in our apple tree, like at the complete top, just sitting there, I don't know, pondering and loving it, I don't know. So that's just to say I've always loved some sort of adventure. It wasn't the easiest place to get the encouragement to travel. And when I told them I wanted to go to France for my 3rd year abroad, they just thought that was completely unreasonable. And I was just like, no, like this is what I want to do. I think it'll help my career in all these aspects because I was studying international relations. And somehow like, I was like, I'll fund it myself. And so I just worked my butt off to be able to do that. I've been working since the age of 16. And I've always been super wise with my money. And so even working like minimum wage jobs in various fast food restaurants, I love to save, and I didn't know what I was saving for at the time. But then when I finally set my sights on something, which like my first big trip was France, and I had to fund that myself. Starting in France, I went to Czech Republic, I went to Northern Africa, so Morocco, Egypt. I've also been to like zany, crazy places like Greenland, Iceland, Russia. My most recent, like craziest exploit was in Papua New Guinea, where we climbed one of the highest mountains in the continental region. And this is Lil Fel Rocks the World from top of the world. And like stayed with tribal people and stuff. Yeah, that was kind of insane. Thailand, Indonesia, where I lived, Laos, England, Germany, Spain, Italy. I did what people were not willing to do just to be able to like find that adventure. Most people were like, oh, I'm going to sleep in the beds with air conditioning. I'm like, I'm just going to sleep on this wooden bench with like the goats in this like train cart. So I think that's one major important thing, is to just like suck it up and like be able to live like on the cheap.
What are some of the opportunities you've got from creating your blog?
One of them, which was the most exciting period of my life and that kind of inspired me, or I guess slingshotted me into like being super motivated, was when, well, MTV first contacted me about potentially making a show out of it because they wanted a female-driven travel blog, and I was like, this is a female-driven travel blog. That's cool. Okay, like people like it. So that was one potential opportunity. It didn't work out in the end, unfortunately. But that gave me the motivation I need to keep going. And I think one of the hardest things starting out when you're young and you haven't tested your own skills is knowing what other people think of you. So that really helped a lot in terms of confidence, which I think a lot of people are scared to do. Like, they're scared to put themselves out there. And then so recently, I got hired in Paris. It's in a job which is in communications, and I studied IR actually at Trinity. So I got a job in a field I didn't have any experience in, and that's basically because I sold my blog and I said, listen, I have this experience on the web, I have social media experience, I know web marketing, I know how to write, web development, and because of these things, I got hired in Paris. That's awesome, and in a field I haven't had like professional experience in. So it's definitely like opened my horizons.
Wow, so creating this blog got you noticed by MTV and a sweet job in Paris.
Yeah.
Everyone should start a blog.
I know. Everyone's like, I want to do this. I'm like, start a blog, really? Like,
wow. You have a really cool style. And when you look at your blog, I see a lot of really cool pieces you've picked up from around the world.
But when you go through vintage and when you go through these like hidden markets that I've tended to find, you end up having completely distinct pieces. These shorts, for instance, I got them vintage in Thailand. I had seen on all sorts of fashion blogs, everyone had their pockets hanging out, and I was like, whoa, American flag, even though I'm Canadian, but that could be cool. Yeah, so I was just like, oh, I picked them up for like maybe $5, and they're like one of my favorite pieces in my wardrobe. And my shoes are actually Canadian. I got them from a mall in Scarborough, Pacific Mall. It's where you could get all sorts of like Asian imported clothes. They're super fun, colorful. So I saw blue brogue-like shoes in American Apparel for about $80, and I got these for about $20. So
nice find.
Yeah. So I'm sort of obsessed with hats. I think they're just a great accessory all the time. I'm pretty obsessed with ankle boots. I think my style is influenced like heavily by Paris, where like these girls, they just wear their black tights and their ankle boots and blazers, and it just drives me crazy. So I'm sort of obsessed with sushi in Toronto. I had a very small disposable income as a student, but I think I spent maybe 90% of it on sushi. I love coming to this place. This is the Silver Dollar, essentially because you could get some of the best indie artists, new up-and-coming bands. It's an amazing music scene. It's a cute, cozy venue, and it's one of the places I love going. When I go to Paris, when I go to different cities throughout the world, I always look for kind of like small, cozy music venues where you could get those local artists. You know, it is hit or miss, but sometimes you just get these gems. So yeah, that's why I like this place. So one of the most important things when you're in any city, and especially Toronto, is just getting off the main streets, getting off, you know, the beaten track. And because you never know like what you could see, because there's graffiti everywhere that is done like by pretty talented people. And so one of the things I love doing in a city, and especially Toronto, is just walking through alleys and finding some of the color and splendor around.
I never knew that by walking down an alleyway, you never know what you're going to find. But thanks so much for taking us on this journey across Toronto and showing us the cool spots that I've never been to. So check out Felicia's blog and see how you can take the road less traveled. You never know what cool things you might find.